Who is my favorite is Josh Naylor. Josh Naylor, please come back here. I've done it. He's going to come back. Uh,
Personally.
I've done it. That's how it works.
Is
Welcome
this
back.
is this a tired conversation amongst Seattle sports fans right now? Is the Josh Naylor conversation?
I saw somebody going, "Oh, enough about Josh Naylor." No, not enough about Josh Naylor. I
I
think
will not stop talking about
people
Josh Naylor.
showing their emotion for a guy they want back is good. I'm not the biggest believer in, tagging the social media admin and everything you're requesting because I promise you that's not like they're not like, okay, Mr. John Stanton, here's our latest pile of Twitter replies. They're not doing that. They're not going to Jerry. They said, Jerry, there's an overwhelming consensus that you should sign Josh Naylor. I need you to do that immediately. So they stopped doing that. No, unfortunately, they have no control of that. Welcome back to Mariner Mondays. It is Brittany and I. Jakey Poo is under the weather, unfortunately.
All
He's
right.
got a severe case of season fever. He says it's terminal. We think it's bullshit.
Yeah.
But, you know, wishing our well, I was gonna say bearded friend, but he's not. I don't know what it looks like right now after he shaved. Because he did the Seahawks show and the UW football show with me the other day, like last week, and he had just the mustache. So yeah, we wish him well, of course. We will send him around. I know he'll be doing. I was gonna say he'll be doing karaoke, but his beloved Kate's Pub is gone, so
Yeah.
he will not be. Wow, I'm just hitting him right in the balls.
Yeah, a little bit.
Um, it is our first off-season episode of the year. I know. Last season when we were kind of in the doldrums of things, we were just kind of figuring things out to talk about when we were starting this show, actually. But I feel like, with the potential of moves ahead for the Mariners, we'll have a few things to talk about before they even start doing things, right? Before we even get to winter meetings. Obviously, the World Series has ended, um, in remarkable fashion, might I say. And now we've seen things start getting to move along. Brittany and I talked for a few minutes about what the Cubs are doing with their starting pitching, uh, what other clubs like Kansas City and Chicago, the White Sox, that is, not just the Cubs, are doing. So I mean, there's movement. People are. It's that time for options and things like that. There's already a trade. I was kind of surprised about that, but the things are starting is the point. So we'll see. There's obviously signing things to happen, but never put it past Jerry Dipoto to make a trade, right? So obviously, as Brittany mentioned, the first thing is Josh Naylor. Um, I guess the big thing is where do you sit at now with the feeling of a new deal, and then because the projections are interesting, right? Because the number, like the term seems to be 4 years, right? And then like 80 to 90 mil is kind of like what it seemed like it would be, like postseason starting on. And then people are throwing higher numbers out there now. Um, I don't know. It's interesting, right? Because at least at the first base market, P. Alonso's a free agent, which I'm sure he'll get a lot. People will pay for that bat, right? Um,
You
the
would think.
hope,
And then they
yeah,
also didn't last
this is
offseason.
true. This is very true. Um, yeah, I don't know where you're standing with Josh because I know, like I said to you before we started recording, there's some worry that, with him likely not returning to the Mets, or at least currently, because we didn't think necessarily that would happen last year, right? And sure enough, he ended up back in New York with Grimace.
Mhm.
Um, it seems like the Mets could throw more money out after, a year that looked like disaster for them, and then they get, you know. So, yeah, I don't know where you at with the Josh saga as it lies currently.
Yeah, the numbers have inflated a little bit more than I originally anticipated. He made just south of 11 million last year in his final year of arbitration. So you can anticipate that he'll likely be doubling that ideally. So like a 20 mil AAV. He's going to want 3, 4, 5 years somewhere in there, I'd imagine. Um, I would be surprised if we get above 25 million AAV. I've seen that number thrown out there. Um, that would be really surprising to me. Yes, he's only 29, which for free agency is relatively young. And his bat is very, highly sought after. The profile, the offensive profile. First basemen are kind of volatile. We've seen that, right? Sometimes when they fall off, they tend to fall off really hard and really fast. And so I wonder if teams are kind of approaching what we saw with Pete last year, if they're approaching first baseman with a little more caution and hesitancy. Um, I am also super curious how the what feels like an impending lockout in 2027
Yeah.
uh, is going to impact both player and team decisions. Um, we haven't heard, and we'll get into this, we haven't heard anything from Jorge Polanco yet, which is shocking
Yeah.
to me. I thought that'd be an easy free agency for him. I wonder if players are kind of mulling that kind of stuff over and taking that into account with their decisions. And I anticipate teams could do the same. So and this is maybe a lazy analysis, but he is such a good fit for your team, both with the skills that he brings and the attitude and the personality and the I love hitting in T-Mobile Park. It's easy to hit here.
And the numbers back it up.
And the numbers back it up. You need that. So if he wants 5 years, 25 mil AAV, like give it to him, in my opinion. Again, maybe that's lazy analysis, and you can go and say, oh, you could get someone with the same offensive profile for less. I think he brings so much to the team in terms of his personality and his attitude and his baseball IQ. That high baseball IQ is just maybe the most impressive thing to me. The number of stolen bases as the second slowest baseball player in the league, it's insane. Um, so I give give me Josh Naylor. Just give me Josh Naylor. It's fine. Like I'm about to be unemployed, but I will give you $1 a week, Jerry, to help supplement. It's about all I can afford.
I got at least $30 he can have. I was gonna say 20, but we're really gonna push it in here. Um, yeah, no, it's interesting with 27, right? So what I imagine guys are gonna want to get their money now is the sentiment, right?
Yep.
Um, yeah, I mean it's obvious because it's talked about to death, right? Everybody, you know, down the stretch with Josh talks about Josh Naylor. Everybody's like, "Oh, sign him already in the postseason." Like it was funny because I was at the Kraken like prospect game in Everett, and Justin Hollander gets on the TV then and talks, "Hey, we've agreed to talk about it in the offseason." Like they're not talking in the middle of October during the ALCS. So what number do you want? As great as that would be to have that sorted out. I mean, you talk about the profile, right? Talk about the clubhouse fit. We've heard guys over the last few years, you know, be beloved. The comments Cal made about Justin Turner, right? Not those are different players at different stages of their career, but you talk about importance of the clubhouse. You know, I was talking to my funny. I can bring the Kraken up again. Everett Fitzhugh with the Kraken, the radio broadcaster, right? Big baseball guy. He's a Tigers guy. He's from Detroit, but he's fallen in love with the Mariners. And he said, you need guys who know how to win. As the great it is, you look at that roster and you see a lot of guys who are homegrown, right? Having a guy like Josh, who I'm not saying he hasn't been to a World Series, right? He hasn't won a World Series. That's fine. But knowing him, seeing the competitiveness, right? It's seeing him come out and show emotion down the stretch was one of the coolest things ever.
It ruled.
Like, you know, if you sign him, you get to see him be very flat faced for the first however many months of the season. That's fine. I'll take it when we get to like late season Josh, right? But the competitor aspect of it, you talk about the profile, they love what he does. Get on base, steal bases. I know initially when he got here, the power profile wasn't super expected, but he had the thump in him, not foul like, but he still provided the thump. I just think you talk about potentially finding something else out there. They know him now. They
Yeah.
know what he brings. He's a known commodity. I think this is a slam dunk of a guy you want to bring back, you guy you want to retain, maybe as they've ever had in this regime, at least, right? I mean, because everyone like they've signed their young guys to extensions, but
Mhm.
like, has there ever in the Depoto regime, has there been a guy that's hit free agency that this anybody's wanted to see come back more? Like again, I go back to Justin Turner, people wanted to see him, but again, this is so much
It's
more
so
than
different.
right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good
And
question. I'm trying to think of someone and I'm
right,
I'm I'm coming up short.
like, and you talk about, well, I remember I think he talked about it a few times, right? After clinching the postseason and winning the division, and then I'm sure after the DS, but talking to Cal during the beer soaked moments about, the news people were like, hey, this is what, like, do you feel like these moments are what you signed up for when you know, brought up the reason why there is a Cal is right sign? Um, and the apparent conversations that were had in spring training, before he signed an extension, like bringing a guy like Josh Naylor back further doubles down your commitment to and I say this and it's interesting because I don't want to downplay Julio because we know who he is, we know what he brings, so on and so forth. But Cal right now is the face of your franchise.
Yeah.
I don't think that's deniable, so I would keep him happy by not only keep it like it's you have to get it done.
Yeah.
And that's been hammered to death, of course, but obviously we have to say it so we don't ignore it. Um,
Just really quick, I'm looking at, and again, Naylor is hitting free agency as a first baseman, younger than most do. Um, but there have not been many long contracts for free agent first basemen. Um,
Interesting.
the they've been 3-year contracts over the last 3 off seasons, and they were to Jose Abreu and Christian Walker, both from the Houston Astros.
Eh, oh Jesus.
So those have been
Um,
only 3-year contracts for free agent first baseman. Again, Josh Naylor will be younger, so I think this deal will look different. I think 4 years is probably fair in what he's looking for. Um,
give him what he wants.
but I wonder if that minimizes the pool of potential teams interested. Like, the Mets will be interested.
Interesting. Yeah,
Um,
and they don't care.
yeah, the Mets don't care. I'd imagine the Padres will be interested.
Oh, fuck
Um,
off.
I would imagine the Rangers would be interested. I don't know if they're running it back with Rowdy Tellez.
I did see. I forgot which one of their beat guys it was, but uh, it might have been Evan Grant who said that there was some expectation that the Rangers actually might be cutting payroll. Um, I
Interesting.
know, which is Bruce Bochy retired now? I thought they made what was they got Schumacher. Um,
Yes, they did. Yeah.
I thought that was a good hire. I was like, oh, can you not do that? Um, I'd have to find it, and I don't. Oh yeah, Evan Grant. Let the penny. This is on the 3rd of November. Let the penny pinch commence. How a couple of moves over the weekend may translate to bigger cuts in payroll than perhaps expected, which is interesting for the Rangers, right? Because obviously they spent all their money. A few years ago, they bring in a guy like Semyon, like Corey Seager. I almost said Kyle Seager, not quite correct.
Oh, once.
Um, they get the World Series,
Yeah.
um, and they've just due to injury, right? And what their bullpen, they just have not been too good the last few years.
Mm.
Um, so that is interesting. I'm not doubting it because things can happen, but I remembered that. I said, huh, Texas, what are you doing down there? Hmm. They saw that they had former Mariners and Sam Haggerty and Rowdy Tellez, and they said, we have the power.
It's objectively hilarious.
Mariners South.
Yeah, so that's really interesting. Again, like, does 2017 impact how teams approach this at all? It's going to be really interesting to see. It's going to be such an interesting offseason. I'm actually really looking forward to it. But yeah, I that makes me the Mets and Padres. I can't think of anyone else.
That's a good question. Yeah, well, I mean, you talk about an interesting offseason, and I don't mean to take a hard change, but this is an hour, a little over an hour ago. But I guess Buster Olney said that the Mariners are expected to be among teams interested in Tarek Skubal. I don't know how much traction that'll get because there's a big fat contract that
Yeah.
Skubal wants. Last I saw, I think it was well Bowden. I don't know how much I trust Jim Bowden. I don't
That's
think it was Bowden, but I know that the money that in the discussions between the Tigers and Scooble, right? They're very far apart.
yeah.
Oh yeah, Bowden. Bowden last night, I guess on KJR with Soft, he said that the Tigers and Scooble are $300 million apart on a new contract. The Mariners are not giving him that.
No, they're
Uh,
not. They're not.
uh oh, Bowden last night on Naylor, 4 years, 90 mil. Mariners, Mets, Red Sox in the mix. So is Jaron Duran, not Jaron Duran, Tristan Casas just, well, I mean, they wanted to move Casas.
Yeah,
Um,
and man, those injuries have really stacked up.
yeah. I mean, the Scobo thing's interesting. It's as fun as the idea is, right? Because I mean, I feel like if you do that, right, let's play Fantasy World for a second here, Brittany. Okay.
Yeah,
You do that, you're moving Luis. I mean, you have to. You
you
can't
have
pay
to.
like with the money that you'd owe Scooble, and what I mean, this is something I brought up to you right before we hit the record button. I don't know where I am with Luis and his status, going forward, considering the money he's making, right? And the dip in not necessarily, I mean, it's hard to expect him to be like a Cy Young guy because he's given you great years since you brought him in, right? It was a great move at that deadline, not only to one up the Yankees because, but also, what he's done to your clubhouse. Obviously, he's I can just say it from experience. He's very loved in that clubhouse. I know he's been a big guy for the younger rotation arms, right? He's been your horse for a long time. He showed up in big games. Um, but just the I know you well, and if we had Jake here, I know he could chime in. But what the velo's down,
The
the swing
velo's
and miss is
down,
there.
the contact rate is up, the barrel rate he's giving up is up.
It's not
The
good.
swing and miss has completely tanked.
So
So
that's something where you probably want to get out from under that sooner rather than later. Because as I mentioned, I think he goes up to 25 million and 28. I don't know if there's a planet by then. Do we have baseball then? Who knows? But you're already paying him north of 20 mil right now. So again, we're going back to Fantasyland. If you do that, you have to move Luis. Um,
yeah,
You know how fun that would you get the Seattle U guy back here. His K rate here at T-Mobile Park would be through the fucking roof.
I don't think
Um,
it's gonna happen.
they're not
I'm
gonna do it.
thinking about
They
like
can't afford it
Corbin Burns deal and like what people what teams have given up for guys, and he's north of the Corbin Burns.
for sure. Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't see a package. You would have to give Cole Emerson. I think you'd
Oh,
have to. I think so. Like,
well, I know Adam Jude with the Times put something together. I'll get it, but it did mention Durangelo.
sure.
But if you're getting well, the problem is are you that I mean that's a good question if we're still in fantasy land and making
Yeah.
ideas here, right? Are you taking the year of Scooble with no guarantee? Because I mean, and it's doubtful, obviously, that you'd be able to spend that money on him because it's the Mariners. But are you taking the year of Scooble, knowing how close you were, knowing how much, at times it looked like you pushed the Blue Jays more than the Dodgers did. You're
Hmm.
giving up Durangelo, Felnine.
Yeah.
And Logan Evans is what
Hmm.
I think, maybe I'm a dickhead for this, right? But maybe just given the spectacle of Durangelo, I'm interested, but if we're talking about competing and really being serious about the World Series, I'm doing it. And I'm sorry, I'm doing it. I don't know if Felnine will do it just because, and obviously, professional scouts know more than I do. It's very clear. But I mean, you look at the injuries with the guy, unfortunately, and there's no guarantee that prospects pan out. Like you talk about having the depth of the prospect, the farm system that you do. You've got to well, and this is something too that obviously ripple effect of the draft. You've got Kate Anderson. I'm not as worried about Durangelo making an impact. And everyone got so caught up with Trey Savage, right?
Hmm.
Sure, fine. Um, you've got Kate Anderson. Like, I, you've
And
got a
Ryan
better
Sloan.
and Sloan. Yeah, you've got at least pure pitching wise. Again, if Durangelo ends up staying here, very happy to support him and watch that journey grow. But you've got two prospect pitchers that I'm happy like more on the train about in terms of them impacting you at the big league level. If the Tigers take that proposed deal and give it to them, uh, I just don't think they would.
It makes me so sad that we are even having this conversation. Like, why should Detroit be even
Yeah,
entertaining that? They have a generational pitcher.
I have been told many things that they are cheap. I know there are a lot of organizations around the league that are cheap. They are one of them. I do wonder if you talk about the Burns deal, right? Does it get bad enough between them? Because if they're so far apart, I don't know, how long the discussions have been going on. I'm sure one of the sides has wanted to get a deal done in the season, right, or before it. Because I mean, it's not like he just all of a sudden showed up this year, right? I wonder how bad it gets. Because if it gets bad, you're like, hey, we just need you out of here. You don't want to come back. It's interesting. It's going to be something to follow, right? You talk about the off season and how fun it's going to be. That is something to follow, you
Yeah.
know. It is interesting with Emerson. Um, I guess just with the proximity of that, um, do you want to talk about the prospects? Because this is something too with this prospect pool, you know, one of the things you talk about Polo, and we'll get to that. But one of the things there is what happens in the infield because, hypothetically, I guess the only for certain starter in the infield right now you've got is JP
Yeah.
because right,
Crazy.
because you need Josh back. So, if you go down the hypothetical checklist, Josh is first. Say you strike him off. I would have imagined, even if they do bring Polo back, I don't know how much time he spends fully at second. I don't know what the plan is there because you don't have Mitch Garver anymore. His option,
No.
his
Yeah.
mutual option was declined. Don't know how much time we need to spend on that. Great guy, fun to talk to, very smart baseball wise. This
He'll make
wasn't
a
there
good
anymore.
coach someday. Thank you for
Oh,
your
for
time.
sure. Yeah, oh, former catchers. Um, like I think the body's kind of wearing down a bit. I think we saw that through the course of the last year or two. But you don't have him to eat up DH days, right? I imagine if you bring Polo back, he will eat up a good amount of that. And the guy
Yeah.
was a professional hitter. I mean, Dan said that verbatim, I think. So I'd be fine putting him there. I just imagine with Cole Young, like, yes, his power isn't super big, but as you and I talked about before we started recording, you kind of need more contact. The Mariners have been so power heavy really the last few years, right? I mean, you see they're up there in terms of the amount of homers they hit. They're like seemingly top 10, top five almost every year. You look about the number of runs produced via the long ball. And
It's
you look
them
at
and
the
the
Blue
Yankees at the
Jays.
top
Yeah.
of all
You
teams.
look at uh ooh, you look at what the Blue Jays did in the bottom of that lineup, right? With Clement, with Andres Jimenez, even I
Suffocate.
still forget that IKF is there. So funny. Um, and I mean, obviously Jimenez had the two-run homers in the ALCS against you, but I mean, what is he traditionally? He's a contact guy, right? I mean, you need more of that at the bottom of your lineup. Guys like, and I know he had the homers in Tacoma, but the PCL is a different world. Um, Ben Williamson, uh, and Cole Young, you'll need that from them. I'm very interested in seeing what Cole Young can do after getting the MLB experience, seeing, hey, here's
Yeah,
what didn't work for you, you know, because down the stretch he really struggled. Um,
he did. I still have a lot of confidence in Cole Young to be a very good big leaguer. I don't think he's going to be a star, but I think he'll be a very good big leaguer.
Serviceable.
Absolutely, yeah. And maybe a little better than just serviceable. But I do think we're seeing, you talk about the Blue Jays. I do think we're seeing a shift in hitting philosophy in Major League Baseball, where for years in the late, 2010s to early 2020s, it was the long ball, three true outcomes: strikeout, walk, home run. Um, and I think the Blue Jays are a prime example of teams starting to pivot from that a little bit. And I think if teams don't start to try to pivot from that, they're going to be left in the dust and left behind, because pitchers adjusted, right, to that hitting philosophy, and they're approaching guys differently.
Yeah.
And so teams smartly said, all right, let's get back to contact and putting the ball in play and moving runners and situational baseball. So if you can have Ben Williamson be a singles and doubles guy, I don't need him to hit home runs. I'll take 8 home runs a year, doubles. And if you can get Cole Young to be that guy, just to like move the runners, right? And to get on base for your boppers, which are Julio and Cal and hypothetically Polanco and hopefully, Naylor. You have those boppers to hit guys in. Something that I remember very distinctly is the feeling when Cal hit a home run in the postseason of, man, I wish there were guys on base for that. And I think that's going to come back to hurt us. So I am hopeful that Williamson and Young can be contributors. And I think bringing Polo back to be able to fill in at that second base position if Cole Young, goes like this, which happens with young kids, I think would be really imperative and important to have.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because I think Cole Young was a guy that, coming through the system was largely viewed, at least by some prospect, some scouts I know, who's like, hey, this guy's boring because he didn't suck at anything. He was just average or better at a bunch of different things. And it's like, okay, what are you gonna pick out about the guy? So it's yeah, I'm interested to see how that turns around. And yeah, like I mean, you think about what I hated it because I don't like ragging on a guy like Leo Rivas, but people, talking to so many people after the CS or even parts of the DS, right? Because you go to 5 games, it's your bottom of the lineup can't look as it was. Victor couldn't find it. Tom Kenzone couldn't find it. Leo Rivas wasn't working counts like he did.
Yeah.
I don't think JP did too much, and that's another conversation. I think maybe with the things I want to hit, we have to move that to something else. Um, it's the off season.
Yeah.
I want to talk
There
about
might
that
be a
because
whole pod dedicated to JP
yeah,
at
it's
some
I don't
point.
know, it's a conversation to have, but
It,
at least at least for this year, he's your guy at shortstop.
yeah,
Keep him there. Let's keep going.
for sure.
You need some certainty. Um, see what you can get out of him. Um, you know, uh, but yeah, it's interesting because the second and third base positions can be can look differently, and even your DH spot. There are three positions that can be impacted by, if you're bringing guys back or not. And I guess we can just go into Polo and Gino now. I do wonder because, as you mentioned, he hasn't declined the vesting option yet in Jorge Polanco. It is November 5th, Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm on drugs. Not really. That's about to hit 8 a.m. Still hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
And a lot of the decisions around the league have happened, right? Um, I don't know. I wonder specifically with those two guys, right? Because talking to Polo, um, being around him first, let's go to Polo first, right?
Yeah.
He's a guy who wanted to come back here after the unfortunate way the 2024 went. You bring him
Mhm.
here, you believe in him. The Mariners talked about wanting him from Minnesota for so long. They give a pretty solid package. I mean, Justin Topa, all that unfortunately hasn't really panned out for them. I don't know what's going on with Minnesota. They've got issues over there.
Yeah.
You know, um, there's things going on over there. Um, you know, I don't know what the idea is, but he talked about wanting to come back here, talked about not there was the contract offer from Houston, I believe it was, right? And he said
Sure
he wanted to
was.
come back here. You
Mhm.
know, I wonder how much stock you take if you're looking at potentially bringing him back and him wanting to be here. You can also add the fact that the option hasn't been declined yet. I don't think he'll do that, but I do wonder if they're looking at a deal.
I wonder
Uh,
if they're having conversations. Exactly. I do absolutely think he's going to become a free agent. I feel like he would be dumb not to. He's leaving money on the table, and I'm sure his agent is telling him that. But the fact that we haven't seen a transaction happen yet, and he hasn't become a free agent yet, makes me think that conversations are happening. So
yeah, I wonder about something like that, because I imagine he's not. I don't imagine looking for them long term, like a couple years.
well, and with his injury history, he's
Yeah,
not, I don't think a team's going to give him a long term contract.
no,
So, and I'm sure he
um,
knows that. And he really likes Seattle and he really values consistency. So,
yeah. So, that would be really interesting. It gives you a guy who, if Cole needs to still figure it out a bit more, you've got Polo there, can play more than a fine second base, even with the history, like it looked perfectly fine throughout the playoffs. Um, they worked him out as a backup first baseman at times. Uh, and I imagine would eat up most of your DH days. The Geno thing's interesting
yeah,
because he's getting a bit older. I don't expect him to get up near 50 again.
not if
Um,
he's hitting in T Mobile Park for half of his games.
no, but you also know how beloved he is here, right?
Mhm.
How much he loves it here. Uh, I don't know. I don't know what he wants, uh, because he was happy in Arizona. After I'm sure he didn't want to leave.
Yeah.
Um, he was able to be happy in that situation. Snakes seemed fun. Um, but especially if a guy like Josh Naylor is, I don't know. How do you view how do you view this Geno situation? Because I know some people are looking at it as, in an ideal world, you don't have to pick one or the other, but
Yeah.
people are like, all right, is it Polo or Geno? Um,
I mean, Polo is probably easier to bring back. I think he probably is the easiest of even like Naylor. I think that'll be the easiest one to get done. I love Gino dearly. And I'm so grateful for his time with Seattle. And I just think that time has come to an end. I think we've seen what he can do in T-Mobile, and he rightfully so is probably going to want more money than the Mariners are probably able to give him. So I'd imagine they want to allocate those funds because regardless of whatever we're being told about additional money being spent, there is still a limited budget. Let's be 100% clear and real. And uh, I guess maybe if everything else falls through, they'll throw some money at Gino. But I mean, how old is he now? 33?
I think it was 34.
He's 34.
Yeah.
Jerry and Justin, I would be shocked if they do that. So I will be surprised to see him in a Seattle uniform next year. I wish him nothing but the best, and I will cheer for him wherever he goes. But looking at what the Mariners have coming up in their system and what their biggest glaring needs are, I'll be really shocked to see him.
Yeah, that is another thing is the prospects, right? Because you want to clear the runway a bit. Because we talk about Ben Williamson and we've brought him up, but haven't necessarily looked at him in that position. But Colt Emerson, with the rise he's been making and how he's viewed in your organization, right?
He very realistically could be, and I can't believe I'm saying this, a 2026 option. Probably not a shortstop, but maybe you give
Not
him some
yet.
run at third base to give him a cup of
Get
coffee.
him some looks. I mean, because would you've got him on the would you have him on the bench? How does your bench look? Uh, because I mean you had guys like Miles there, Leo. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
And I
that'll
think
be
we have Miles back next year, right? I
I
think Miles will be back
let me see the multi-year.
contract wise. I think Luke Raley is still
Arb,
around.
he's still Arb, pre-Arb, 26, and then
Mhm.
arbitration in 27. You've yeah, Luke Raley, Arb, our arbitration through 28. Um, and I, talked hearing from Jerry, what, 2 weeks ago now? At that end of the season availability that they had, mentioned that they think that they can, they didn't get the Luke Raley that
Yeah.
they obviously with the injury.
He
I
was
just
horrible.
wonder, with the what the oblique was it like people like, oh, Luke Raley be a better option in the playoff. I was like, no, he wouldn't. He's not right.
He
Just
was
see,
really hurt. When he came back off the IL, his first or second swing, I was like, nope, something's not right there. It just didn't look right.
yeah. So not great. Um, yeah, that'll be it's interesting with the prospects, because yeah, a guy like Colt will be knocking on the door. See,
Yeah.
you got to see what adjustments, to finally put a bow on Cole and man, you got to see what adjustments they can make. Because it all about adjustments, right? And they've obviously seen everything. So, and,
Yeah.
at least with those two defensively, like they're not going to be liabilities out there. I mean, obviously Ben more so than Cole, but yeah, no, I mean it's interesting to think about. Gino Polo, I guess we talked about the fantasy of Tark School. I guess last thing for this one I'd look at is the bullpen because I know that was a certifiable thing that Gary talked about. Um, an area that they want to get back. He's at first base, obviously with Josh, third base, depending on what they do with Gino. And yeah, it would make sense, given everything to see him move along. But the bullpen, something I expected um was them picking up Andres's his option for 26. He'll be back for $7 million.
Munoz
Um,
might have the most team friendly contract in all of baseball, given his performance the last few years.
oh yeah.
It's a
I
steal.
it was really funny writing about him after the Padres series because I had talked to Mooney and he wants to be here. I mean, he's talked about it. He's told me on the record. He said it's not about money. I just want to be in Seattle. I love it. He says he loves it here. Him and his wife Wendy love it here. Um, they want to. I think he wants the certainty of a longer term contract, but they've got the options, so they can just pick him up.
Mhm.
And in terms of value, like yeah, as you mentioned, the options on the table for Mooney, given what he's provided you, and I, but 7 million this year, and next year would be 8 million. It would be 10 and 28 if we get there, if baseball still exists. Um, like I don't know about you, but every time he'd come in, people were like, "Oh, great, here we go again." And I'm like, "No, man. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying every time he's giving you one, two, three. I'm not saying that, but he has been so big for you,
Yeah.
and on such a team friendly. Even the deal that they initially signed, like, got him to, after what he made his debut in 21 in that last inning of the 21 season,
Hmm.
like historically, his numbers will be up there with some of the best relievers in Mariners history. They already
100.
are.
They already are. And his numbers are up there with some of the best relievers in all of baseball. And he's leading a lot of categories over the last couple of years. So I understand he has had some stressful appearances.
That's not something you can deny.
That's kind of relievers though. They're pretty volatile.
Yes.
And
Yep.
the I think of like the class A's who we probably won't be seeing him
Huh.
anytime soon, but those types of completely like Aroldis Chapman this year, shut down relievers are a lot more infrequent. We're seeing a lot less of that. The Mariners are not going to go pay for that big top guy. I really don't see that happening. That's never been how they've put their bullpen together, right? Like the bullpen lab is a joke for a reason. Um, so I will be shocked if they go get, either trading for someone or I would be curious what Edwin Diaz's market looks like. I'm I'm just curious. I'm just curious. That's all.
Hey man, this podcast is pro Edwin Diaz. I miss
Um,
Edwin. Bring sugar back home.
yeah. I'm trying to think of other free agents. Let's see if I can pull some up.
Well, there was already a
Diaz, Racel Iglesias, our Sunflower King. Bring him over. You don't want him. I mean, let's see. Devin Williams. Oof. He had a
that's a
really,
name people
really rough
seem
year in New York. And maybe
yeah.
you could get him for kind of cheap because he just had a rough year. And maybe they think they could fix him. I don't know.
Oh,
New
a lot of
York
these guys
has
are
a very good bullpen lab themselves, and he struggled. A lot of older guys.
yeah,
I
a lot of older
mean,
guys here.
Kenley Jansen, who is great, but 38.
Hmm.
Um, Robert Suarez.
Kind of surprised about that. Hey, Helsley's available.
Ryan Helsley is a free agent. Um,
Hey, Paul Sewald's available.
Paul Sewell, yeah, poor
Phil
Sewell.
Maton.
Um, Sir Anthony Dominguez.
Huh. Well, and then yeah, I mean, I just wonder with the lefties because I would be pretty shocked if they bring Caleb Ferguson back with just how it just did not go well here.
Yes.
Um, there's some interesting names. Wasn't
Hector
it Jose
Neris is a free
Alvarado who
agent
got popped? Ew. Um, did Alvarado get popped?
for performance enhancing drugs.
Yeah, was that Jose Alvarado in Philly?
I can't remember. No.
I'm just looking at the lefties
Yes.
now. Um, interesting names. Yeah, a lot of older guys. Ryan Yarborough. Hmm, interesting. Oh, Drew Pomeranz. Hmm, interesting. Uh, yeah, not too much here that interests me in the lefty. But
Eric
yeah, I don't
Swanson
know.
reunion. Splitter King, lefty Splitter King.
Who?
Eric Swanson.
Oh, wow. Is he?
He is a free agent. I'd imagine he'll be on a minor league deal somewhere.
um, yeah, it'll Hector Neris. Um, Luke Weaver. Hmm. Hello. Uh,
his cracks started to show quite a bit too down the road with the Yankees.
Fairbanks, Ryan Stanek. Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting. Yeah, I imagine. Well, and then what? Did we talk about this at the end of the year? Do you keep Emerson in there? Say, hey,
Yeah.
buddy, this could be good for you. You could probably see more points in this ball club because you know what? You've got your four younger guys. There's rotation in Brian, Bryce, Logan, and George. Um, ideally, you don't have to worry about any of them for the near future. And then, as I mentioned, as you talk, you bring up Ryan. I brought up Cade. Are you trusting Emerson more than those guys? Sorry, I'm not.
No,
Uh,
not in the starting rotation.
no. So I think at least in terms of getting the most out of him, it's out of the bullpen.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
and we,
Agreed.
again, I think we did talk about this last episode, seeing, what he can do with a full off season and spring training in that role as opposed to, hey, figure it out during the regular season.
Yeah.
Um, would be interesting to me. That is of interest. Uh, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what decisions that they make in terms of who they bring back from this bullpen, right? Um, yeah, you got Mooney under contract. Everybody else is already eligible. Carlos Vargas gave you a ton of innings in the beginning of the year. Obviously saw his stuff is gross. It just you hope it doesn't hit somebody. Um,
For
you
real.
know,
Zero control. Like,
you just hope it lands and not on somebody. Uh, you know, uh, but what? Ray Taylor. Don't know. Uh, Bizardo, yeah, he'll be back. Gregory Santos, I would be shocked if they didn't cut weight on the guy.
oh,
Uh,
you
Jackson
know,
Coar.
let's go back to Bizarro real quick. They
Hmm,
have kind of in the past packaged guys like Bizardo, right? You think of Justin Topa and other guys that they have seemingly created out of nowhere, kind of out of thin air. Um, so he had an incredible year, and his numbers are going to be up there, and they're going to be really good. And he might be a trade piece for them. We've seen them include those bullpen pieces in the past.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, you brought up Eric Swanson. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I do want because again, you don't put a trade past him. But I wonder what Jerry would do to make the ball club better in that regard. Because we still have talked about right field, you know,
Yeah.
and I'm sure we'd have to push that. But I mean, it's interesting because just given how long he was out, I imagine it's like, hey, they already are paying Victor for this season. It's like, hey, let's see what's going on.
Mhm.
But and obviously Dom Canzone hit 300 in the plate appearances that he got this year, but neither of them did anything in the playoffs. Um,
As Jake said, you need an adult right fielder. And I think that's very well said.
so I do wonder, yeah, you bring that up, what the trade possibility would look like. Because I mean, if you're looking at your so to say depth chart, I imagine catcher you're stocked full. Because you've got Big Butt Man and Harry now will back him up. I'd be shocked if you don't think. I mean,
I wouldn't be too sure that they don't move him.
right, well, okay. Even then, what are you moving him for? You know,
Totally. Of course, it has to
if
be the
you're
right
moving him for Tarek
play.
Skubal,
Right. God. Easy.
um, but at least at the current moment, that's how it looks, right? I mean, ideally, in second, you've got Cole on the roster, JP's on the roster, Randy's on the roster for this year, um, and then Julio, and then so that leaves right field, first base. Again, I know Victor's on the roster, but right field, first base, third base are areas you either need to bring somebody back or improve upon, in my opinion,
Mhm.
right? And there's the bullpen. Yeah, I don't know. Imagine they trade bullpen arm for bullpen arm if we're going back to the Bizardo thing, but I've been shocked before. You know, I don't know. It's interesting with the bullpen because yes, they'll get their group of guys that we don't know who we've never heard of, like Austin Kitchen, and then we'll see how it goes.
And
Casey Legumina, the tail of the bean man.
yeah.
So
And
yeah.
Lacamina might still have something. Maybe he didn't find it this year. But they might still see something in him because he does have that arm angle they like. A name to just I think keep in mind when we have conversations around Harry Ford is Luke Stevenson, whom they
Yeah.
drafted um this last draft class. I think he's only a year, 2 years younger than Harry. So and he is in I believe their top 10 now, top 10 prospect list. Um it's kind of shocking they got him in the round that they did. So because they got Luke Stevenson, I could very well see Harry Ford
Oh
becoming a
yeah. Yeah. He's at 10. Interesting.
and he's a good player.
Hmm. Well, even going back to it and just looking at this list, does Laz push his way?
Yeah. Yeah. I know a lot of people, myself included, would be really sad to see him go. But he could really bring you back a lot. I think he's very good.
Oh, I was talking about him in right field
Oh, I thought you were talking about him
because
as a trade piece.
I mean he could be, but again, like what position? Obviously, and it'll depend on how the offseason plays out. But what position are you improving with this deal? You know, he was rising pretty quick.
He did.
He's a guy that I know people. There's some people who don't think he can play outfield. There were people who didn't think. I know they're different people. There were people who didn't think Julio could play center field.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not gonna doubt
Um,
the kid before he gets here. Like,
he made big strides this year
make
in his
big
outfield.
strides. He's
Yeah.
a big personality. Like, oh, he's excellent. He's a great human being.
Yeah.
The Mariners, say what you want about the organization, and I know people won't want to hear it necessarily, but they've done a great job at not only bringing in good people to the organization, but like raising them. So, because again, a lot of these guys, especially with like the international guys, they're super young when they come
Yeah.
in. The Mariners posted a video the other day of Julio,
A
young
baby
Julio,
Julio.
baby Julio,
Yeah.
right? So I don't know. I know he's not an adult in right field that you're looking for, but he's fun. And I don't know.
Hey, he's 21. He's drinking age. That's an adult to me.
He's big. Like seeing
He's
him at
huge.
the minor league awards that they bring the guys here, like if you put him in a uniform, because the minor league kids, they when they bring them up for the awards, they have them in the nice suits and everything. And especially the guys like him, they dress really well, right? Um, you put him in a uniform or like some workout clothes, I wouldn't. And if I didn't know him, I would have thought he was on the roster. I'd be like,
Yeah.
okay, because he's bigger than some of the guys that are there. You know, I don't know. All things to consider. It's just so fun because you've got a team that was however many outs away from World Series, and they've got this next wave of talent that's
Yeah.
going to be pushing their way in, or at least knocking on the door.
This is a
Um,
much more enjoyable off season than last off season. At least it has the potential to be.
yeah,
Well, let me not get ahead of myself here. I don't want to tempt
careful
Jerry
now.
with anything.
Ooh.
Ooh,
Or ownership say, actually, we no more money. I mean, you had Ichiro's thing, going into the Ichiro having his jersey retired. You've got
postseason
that
revenue.
revenue. You have postseason revenue. You could have postseason revenue. You could have revenue from Josh Naylor sales. Uh, you're putting out the Ichiro statue next year. You'll get that revenue. I think it's your 50th season. Uh, next year. Randy's getting his number retired. Like
Andy, yep, that'll be big.
money,
It will. Yeah,
money.
it's coming
Spend
in.
money on player,
Yeah,
please,
yeah.
so that when he wins World Series MVP, we can build a Josh Naylor statue. We're gonna build statues to everybody at this point. You're getting a
We
statue.
are. We're
You,
we, we are going to run out of room for statues. We're gonna have
hey,
statues on the roof.
I will hand Parr the Edward Bizarro statue if they win a World Series. Okay,
I
you know,
100% believe you and will hold you to
right?
the
Okay, so
yeah.
all right, yeah, we'll figure it out. At least for now, there's a few things I still want to touch on, like JP, like Luis. And this is, with really not too many moves yet. I think the only official moves are that of Mitch Garver having his option declined, and Andres is getting picked up. So, by the time that, we're around our normal recording time again, more could have happened, more could have not. If that happens, if nothing happens, we've got other things. We're not quite yet grasping at straws territory.
No,
So,
no, not quite yet.
till we see you next time. Take care of yourselves. Be well. Review can't to make today a great day.
Hey, Charles.
Hey, Jen.
Hey, how about those M's?
Oh, I'm excited.
I know. Where are you going to watch all those away games, though?
Away games. Huh. I was thinking of coming here since, after all, Rough and Tumble is the home of circling Seattle sports.
I love that idea. Hope to see y'all here.